Today on Listen Up, 9 years down, only 6 more to go. Taking the pulse of the global battle against poverty. Is the world on track to achieve the Millennium Development Goals by 2015? Welcome to Listen Up, I'm Lorna Dueck, and welcome to 2009. Time does fly. It was in 2000 that the international community vowed to make the world a better place, to combat poverty, hunger, and deadly disease, to improve equality, education, and environmental sustainability. 189 nations signed on to what would become known as the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs. Now, more than halfway to the target date of 2015, is the world on track? Today, we're exploring that question. We'll speak with an artist and advocate who's been closely connected with the United Nations and the MDGs for his thoughts on the goals and why they matter. And we'll hear from frontline workers from around the globe for their thoughts on the world's progress. But first, it was at the United Nations Millennium Summit in September 2000 that the world leaders adopted the Millennium Declaration, pledging to spare no effort to free our fellow men, women, and children from the abject and dehumanizing conditions of extreme poverty. 8 specific time-bound goals would be created, the MDGs. 1 year later, UN Secretary General Kofi Annan presented a roadmap outlining strategies for achieving the goals. Annual reports have measured global progress toward the goals ever since. And last fall, when world leaders came together once again to renew commitments to achieving the MDGs, Bill Gates had this to say.
I love the Millennium Development Goals. I think they're the best idea for focusing the world on fighting global poverty that I've ever seen. With all the mountains of measures and studies and reports in the world, these Millennium Development Goals have broken through and grabbed broad attention.
Joining me now to help further our understanding of the goals is William Ho. He's an artist and a humanitarian who's addressed the United Nations on the goals, and he created the One Heartbeat Award that the United Nations gives to honor achievements in advancing the Millennium Development Goals. And William Ho, thank you for being with Listen Up. Why did you get involved in the Millennium Development Goals?
I guess it's all started about some years ago that when they have invited me to have my art exhibition at the United Nations. I used the theme love, hope, and life, how to be cherished life. And after I delivered my speech, and after the head of the UN and many ambassadors saw that, and they said, "Mr. Ho, can you come to help us to share the Millennium Development Goals to different part of the world?"
Okay, and very deliberate to launch this into the North American context, that we start to care about these goals that are so affecting 1 billion people plus in the world. It's a package to get us caring.
It's not also caring, but also to put it into action.
Action. Okay, I want to show you a piece which has been part of the action plan. Take a look at how organizations across the world have come together to help make poverty history, and that's the slogan for the One campaign, which uses Hollywood celebrity to raise awareness for the cause of the Millennium Development Goals. Watch this.
One by one.
They step forward.
A nurse.
A teacher.
A homemaker.
And lives are saved.
But the problem is enormous.
Every 3 seconds, one person dies.
William Ho, should we be encouraged at the progress we've made?
Well, we should be encouraged, but we should not stop there, because this is only the beginning. We have a long way to go. Those are celebrities, those are head of state, but this world belongs to you and me. As one person, you and me, we have to all join in to participate in this Millennium Development Goal to try to achieve it. So it's not 100% encouraged.
All right, I want to talk about your One Heart Award because, well, you know, this painting that you created caught the attention of Kofi Annan at the time, and,
then-
this became the shaping of this award for people who do get behind this. What were you trying to say here?
Now, the One Heartbeat painting was finished in one single stroke. And of course, I take about 40 years to practice first. But the idea is, this is a painting that symbolizes your heartbeat, my heartbeat, the heartbeat of the whole humanity. That means if all of us share the same heartbeat, because we are related as a family. So that means if one child gets hurt in China, we all get hurt.
Okay, so what do I do? You painted the famous one-stroke painting, One Heartbeat. What can we do?
Now,
we're watching at home. What can we do to encourage governments to stay on track with the Millennium Development Goals, to care about it ourselves?
The government is based on people, is for the people of the people. That means you and me have to give pressure to the government to follow through this Millennium Development Goal. But we also can do that from our own family.
How?
Now, I was doing all this with my own children. I'm telling you that many children have never had a chance to go to school.
Yeah.
They have to walk 3 hours.
And we're going to talk about those later in the show.
But what I can ask my children to do is, you can also share your blessing with other people. I'm asking them to save 25 cents a day. That means in a year, it's $92. And as a parent, I top them up to $100. I send it to China or India. $100 can send a child to go to school for 1 year. So next time when your child buy a piece of or a pair of running shoes, don't buy $150 a pair. Buy $30. Send $100, $120 to the rest of the world.
And those kind of very specific actions.
Yes, it can be very simple. And it's never too early for the children to learn, to care, to share, and to love other children that are less fortunate than us.
Okay, you're staying with us. When we return, some of the faces working towards the Millennium Development Goals and the faces of those they're designed to help.
The one thing that is a mark of extreme poverty is that each day for them perhaps would be the last day of their life.
This segment brought to you by Samaritan's Purse. For more information, visit samaritanspurse.ca.
If you missed last week's show, go to our website. You'll find all of this season's programs archived there for viewing. And while you're there, take our poll and have your say. Do you think the world will ever eradicate extreme poverty? You'll find our poll question and shows to watch at listenuptv.com. Welcome back. We're focusing this half hour on a checkup of the world's Millennium Development Goals. 8 time-bound goals designed to help make the world a better place for all its citizens. Listen Up traveled to Thailand recently, where we visited with a gathering of people from around the world who care about these issues, and we've brought back some of their voices to share with you. Take a look.
You see, the way the world is organized, it is a world in which future is a possibility for few, and the others live to make that future happen for others, for this few. And so 60% of the world is purely in the periphery of a world in which 10% are planning the world for their own future. I think it has to become the agenda of our political leaders, and not the ability of the rich to put them back in power. I think the government exists to create a just society. I think that should be the criteria on which we vote a government in, and we need to hold the government more accountable to fulfill that purpose. The one thing that is a mark of extreme poverty is that each day for them perhaps would be, they live knowing it could be the last day of their life. That is the character of extreme poverty, because they live each day with the desire, hoping that they'll see a new day, but they do not know.
The second Millennium Development Goal tackles the fact that so many of the world's children never go to school. The goal is to achieve universal primary education so that by 2015, children everywhere, boys and girls alike, will be able to complete a full course of primary schooling. And joining me once again to talk about this goal is artist and thinker William Ho, who created the One Heartbeat Award that the United Nations gives to advance achievements in the Millennium Development Goals. And William, it sounds so obvious. Every child should go to school. Why is it important?
Children are our futures.
Tell me about the progress we're making in educating them. And I'm just going to throw this in. There are 121 million children in the world not in school of any kind. Little kids, not in elementary school. We're just talking primary school. I mean, progress? How are we doing?
Progress is not good enough. Progress is not good enough. What we need to do is to mobilize everyone in this world.
And why does that matter to you?
Because to me, I have 3 hope. I want to give hope to the suffering children of the world by providing them with the physical need and also spiritual need.
All right, going back now to goal number 3. Check it out.
When the lid came off the need of the world in eradicating poverty, it was discovered that women were at the bottom of the heap. Even looking at school attendance, more boys get to go to school than girls. Looking at the women who work, in some cases they earn 10 times less than their male counterpart. When you look at gender equality, you ask yourself, what is a woman worth? And I have been in situations where children are lined up in front of mothers, and they're worth 500 or 1,000 or 300. In order to feed the rest of the family, they can be sold in to slavery. Is a woman for sale? Is a young girl for sale? And in that instance, is a young boy for sale? So we're not just talking about gender equality. We're talking about the quality and value of humanity, of a person with a name, with a story. As a Christian, I see Jesus Christ as one who engaged with women. In fact, he took such risks. There's a story of him meeting a woman by himself, with a woman who was rejected in that community. My suggestion is that gender equality is not about women only asserting their position in society. It's about the permission that men give themselves to say we will not demand power over and above someone else. And we will see that God has created men and women equally. Well, that's up to us whether it's equal or not.
The 4th Millennium Development Goal established by the United Nations is to reduce the child mortality rate for children under 5 by 2/3 by 2015. And William, I want to ask why this is important.
As I mentioned, children are our future. Now, every day there are 30,000, 50,000 children die. For some unacceptable reason, for example, clean water. Half of them die because of lack of clean water.
What's holding back our progress on this?
I guess number one is the awareness. A lot of people really don't know that there are 8 children in China. In Africa, many people know about that. But do you know that we also have 8 children in Toronto? We have at least 300 children have AIDS in Toronto.
In Toronto, I didn't know that.
No one knows about that. I guess it's the awareness that strikes us as parents, as father and mother, that we need to do something. Money is not an issue. It's an issue, but it's not the main issue. Unless people know that, and our hearts strike that we have to do something, and our tears come out that we have to do something, then we will do.
Okay, we're going to keep moving through our Millennium Development Goals, and when we come back, goals 5 through 8, and why they should matter to all of us.
Closed captioning provided by Duca Financial Services Credit Union. Discover more affordable banking at duca.com.
We love getting your calls, voicemails, emails, video clips, and letters. Pop by our website and answer this week's question. How important are the Millennium Development Goals to you? You'll find all our contact information at listenuptv.com. Listen Up is back exploring the world's progress on the Millennium Development Goals. They are 8 time-bound goals designed to get the world on track for becoming a better place for all its citizens. Let's look at goal number 5.
In Canada, we lose 10 mothers a year, but in a country like Uganda, where I work, has the same population as Canada. Every year, 6,000 mothers die from pregnancy-related complications. The reasons why mothers come so late to the hospital are not medical. They're not because of the doctors and nurses. They're things out in the community. And until we embrace the community and help people in the community to advocate for safe motherhood, to make sure the women get to the hospital early enough, to make sure those things are in place, then we're going to continue to lose so many mothers. I've really been challenged by the words of the King Solomon in the book of Proverbs when he said, "Speak for those who have no voice, for the rights of all who are destitute." And I just can't think of anybody more destitute in the world than women who die quietly in their huts in Africa, in India, and no one even pays attention to them. And I say to myself, I have a voice. God has given me a voice to be an advocate for those women. And so that's really what motivates me, and I know that all of us have a voice, and I just encourage others to think about that too in whatever way they can be a voice as well too for women around the world, and to be faithful to that.
The 6th goal addresses deadly diseases like HIV, AIDS, and malaria. The goal is to have stopped and, in fact, begun to reverse the spread of HIV, AIDS by 2015. And William, why is that important?
Well, some of the countries in Africa, sometimes it's up to 30–40% of the children positive in the HIV situation. That means almost they can wipe up the whole country.
All right, I want to ask why it matters to you, and I want to ask it in the context of the One Heartbeat painting that became the award, the art that symbolizes this.
This is a very simple act that I want that we put our love into action so that the whole world will have more hope and we have more love for our own children in the future.
And now Millennium Development Goal number 7.
It's a critical MDG. Environment and climate change issues are poverty issues. Climate change is happening in our world today, and it's hitting the poorest hardest. This is one of the biggest problems on our planet today, and what we need really is political will. So what we need is world leaders to come together to agree to serious and significant cuts in carbon emissions so that we can stop the gradual increase in temperature on our planet, which is having these environmental impacts. For me, if you're a Christian, I think you have to engage with these issues. We love the poor, we seek to God's heart is for the poor, and we must address issues of injustice and suffering. If I, as a Christian leader in the West, if my lifestyle, my overconsumption, the amount of carbon emissions that I'm producing in a daily week are having an impact on my global neighbour, on the poorest people in the world who are very dear to God's heart, then I have a responsibility to change my lifestyle and to hold my government to account to make change both in emissions and in supporting poor communities to adapt so that I can be love and express my love to those communities.
Poverty has become very firmly fixed on the political agenda for well over 20 years, as we all know, since the 80s. When one looks at the scale of improvements across the world, I think there's a lot of dismay. There's a lot of progress, but there's also a lot of dismay. I think the main issues, still have to do something with the political will. I think we've seen in recent times with the current financial crunch that if the political will is there, finance can be released. And there still seems to be something of a gap in the mindset of our governments particularly, between recognizing that the promises of the MDGs make absolute political sense, they make economic sense, that they are actually attainable within our domestic growth patterns. One of the great secrets, the untold secrets of civil society is the pervasive presence of the church. Churches are everywhere. I remember being in Peru with a Christian NGO about 18 months ago. We were passing this field, and in the middle of this field was a shack. And somebody said, that is a church. Churches are just about everywhere. And we know that the vast majority of people in the world now live in urban settings. Churches are there. Churches are with the rich, they are with the poor. They're in the global south, they're in the global north. And therefore the church is like a kind of a societal membrane spread across the world. And this kind of infrastructure, governments have seen, the UN has recognized this, is probably the best agency, or one of the best agencies for delivery of services, but also for mobilizing people to create the political will.
When Listen Up returns, I'll share my personal thoughts on striving to make a better world in the wrap. Listen Up is all about news that takes you deeper, and we're always on the lookout for spiritual realities behind the headlines. But we also want to be able to answer questions you have about faith. Visit us at listenuptv.com and go deeper with our Answers to Faith section. We live in a world where the media have a deeply held belief that the right to food is not a story worth covering. Even here at this nice Christian TV show, we squirm at planning to do another show on hungry people. But 50,000 children under the age of 5 will die today, and each day from poverty-related diseases. The Millennium Development Goals we reviewed on today's show are about healing that systemic evil. The MDGs are a concrete way to keep us all talking about reducing poverty in all its forms. One of Christianity's ancient prophets, Micah, said we have a few must-do things in all of our lives: to walk humbly with God, to seek His heart for people in poverty, to do justice and love kindness in government, community, and our personal lives. Talking about the MDGs is a first step. Check out resources on how you can get involved and understand the Millennium Development Goals at listenuptv.com. For all of us at Listen Up, I'm Lorna Dueck. Thanks for watching. Following our recent program on Bible reading, Jennifer wrote, "I gave up reading the Bible 20 years ago because after being thoroughly indoctrinated, I found so much of it irrelevant to life today. Your show has sparked a new interest for me." Write to us at listenuptv.com and find out how to order your copy of The Message.